The Sennheiser GSP 600 released last year to a widely positive reception. Now, I've reviewed many headsets here in the studio, but this is the pair I always inevitably end up coming back to. They're a phenomenal pair, and if you want to see my full review, check it out right up there in the cards. Now, Sennheiser has decided to use this headset as a springboard into their first wireless gaming headset. Now, knowing Sennheiser, the audio quality over wireless would need to be exceptional. And knowing Sennheiser, it's not going to be cheap. The Sennheiser GSP 670 is a premium wireless over-ear gaming headset released just last month. The unboxing experience is almost identical to previous items in this lineup, namely the 600, 650, 550, and now 670. Included in the box is a headset, dongle, micro USB cable, and some paperwork. It has that same blocky industrial design that we've come to either love or hate, and those signature aluminum hinges, but the whole thing has received a coat of stealthy dark paint. And there's now a subtle wave texture on the front of the ear cups. It has the same powerful Sennheiser drivers that we've come to expect, and the same adjustable headband, the same noise-canceling microphone with flip up to mute functionality, and the same stellar volume knob. But now you'll find a chat mixer adjustment knob, a smart button for various wireless functions, and a pairing switch for connection to the dongle or Bluetooth, but it can also be used to inform you of the remaining battery life.
More than 80% battery left.
It's compatible with both PC and the PlayStation 4, but unfortunately there is no support for Xbox One. It can connect either by the low latency dongle connection or traditional Bluetooth 5.0. They advertise 20 hours of continuous battery life and have an included app that can be used to adjust various features of the headset, but the app will only work on PC. They do not have a version of it for PlayStation. It is excessively bulky, I will admit that, but that doesn't really bother me. I will say the murdered out all black look is definitely my favorite so far. The 600 and 650 have these red accents, and the 550 had this controversial green color. This is just black on black. Technically, they say it's black with titanium accents, but the whole thing is just very dark and really cool. But I am still holding out hope for a white version with black accents. I think that will just look phenomenal. It feels pretty much the same as the existing models. The weight is almost negligible between them, and the material is all the same throughout. I'll put it to you this way. In a blindfolded test, I guarantee you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two, which is a good thing because the 600 is probably the second or third most comfortable headset I've ever worn. It gets just as loud as its wired counterpart, but has a slightly narrower frequency response at 10 to 23,000 Hertz. And you turn that volume knob all the way down to shut it off manually. In typical Sennheiser fashion, it has a very even sound signature. It doesn't try to overemphasize the bass, at least right out of the box. As I said, you can adjust some of those settings, but I'll get back to that later. Now, it does sound very much like the 600, but maybe just a bit more muffled. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be able to tell the difference though, unless you wore them back to back like I have. Just out of the box, they sound phenomenal. Now, the isolation is incredible, but it's almost too good. Even at loud volume, there is not much sound leak, which is great if you like listening to loud music, but have neighbors close by. There's no active noise cancellation, it's just these very large ear cups that clamp with a good amount of pressure onto the side of your head. It drowns out almost all noise entirely. It does make me curious if they'd ever make an open back version of the wireless headset.
In my opinion, the weakest point of any of Sennheiser's high-end headsets is always the microphone. And that's not to mean it's bad, it just doesn't seem to match the quality and polish of the rest of the package. For example, I've tested headsets that are literally 10 times cheaper than this that have a better microphone. You can watch that video up here in the cards. Ultimately, it's fine. You can understand me perfectly fine. It's clear. But it doesn't seem to match the price tag or the quality of the rest of the components. That being said, this seems to be just about as good as the GSP 600, maybe a little bit more muddied, but not something you're really going to notice.
But what really sets this device apart is the fact that it's Sennheiser's first wireless gaming headset, which should be a pretty big deal if you're a fan of their previous products. Using the dongle, the range is very easily disrupted with walls. I think the 10-meter estimate they give you is assuming you're in the same room as the dongle. I can try to go to the bathroom in the other room, which only has one wall between us. That's nowhere near 10 meters away, and it already starts to cut out. Now, 10 meters may seem short, but keep in mind that's still technically a longer range than the wired version, which has only a 2-meter cable. The wireless connection, from my experience, was really good and incredibly reliable. I entirely forgot that it was a wireless headset for basically the entire time I was using it, with one notable exception. There was one occasion where I powered up my PC and the dongle refused to connect to the headset. It wasn't until I unplugged the dongle and plugged it back in that it recognized it immediately, and I was good to go. It only happened that one time, and all the other times I've been using it over the past 2 or 3 weeks, it's been great. If you're connecting the headset to a device that you can't plug the dongle into, you'll want to use the Bluetooth 5.0 connection. Now, the range over Bluetooth does reach 10 meters even through multiple obstructions, but keep in mind it's not the same low latency wireless connection that you'll get from the dongle. If you're going to be using this in a competitive setting, you'll want to use the dongle connection whenever possible. Now, you can connect to both the dongle and Bluetooth at the same time, but the dongle connection will always take priority. For example, if I'm listening to Spotify via Bluetooth on my phone and I connect to my PC, the dongle connection will take over. It will not play both of the signals at the same time, even though it's technically connected to both. The dongle will always take precedent, except for one notable exception. If I'm gaming or playing music on my computer and I receive a phone call while connected over Bluetooth, it will pause my music and ring in the headset. To answer the call, I simply tap the button on the back of the headset and it answers the call for me. And I'll just simply use the microphone attached to it to correspond with the person on the other end. When I'm done with the phone call, I simply tap the button again and my music or game audio resumes as it was before. The whole thing is pretty awesome, and I can take a phone call without ever having to remove the headset. And this is a bigger deal than you might imagine because that sound isolation is so good. I've missed more than one phone call just because I couldn't hear it because the isolation is that good. So the ability for you to take phone calls without ever having to remove the headset is pretty awesome. It claims the 20-hour battery life is achievable via Bluetooth, but full disclosure, I didn't test that limit on Bluetooth. However, the dongle connection is advertised at 16 hours, and assuming you're listening at a moderate volume, that seems about accurate in my experience. There are also battery-saving features that will help preserve that battery life as long as possible. For example, when there is no signal detected, the headset will automatically go to sleep, and it has a pretty impressive 30-day standby time. That auto sleep feature is nice for battery preservation, but in some scenarios it can be pretty frustrating. For example, if I'm video editing, that's a scenario where I'm going to be playing and pausing audio constantly. And even though it does go to sleep, as you would expect, it takes a couple seconds to reconnect, which the first time you connect it isn't really a big deal. But when it's happening over and over and I play at the beginning of a clip, I'm missing the first second or two of audio. So I've had to get in the habit of stopping the clip and actually rewinding to a few seconds before in order to hear it. It's really inconvenient, and an easy workaround for this would be to simply delay how long it takes for the headset to go to sleep, because as it currently stands, if it doesn't detect a signal for just a second or two, it goes to sleep. I wish that was something they can adjust in the software. Hopefully it's something they can look to in the future. Recharging the battery is a pretty quick ordeal, 2 to 2.5 hours in my experience, but you can get a full 2 hours of playtime off of just a 7-minute charge, which is pretty awesome. And in a worst case scenario, you can still use the headset while it's plugged into your PC and charging if it's completely dead. I do wish it was USB-C, especially with how pricey this device is. There's not really an excuse to be using micro USB anymore. Finally, the Sennheiser Gaming Suite is the software that accompanies the headset. You do not need to use it, but there are some pretty cool features involved. First of all, let me put a disclaimer out there that even though I don't usually like software that accompanies the hardware that I'm using, I like it to just kind of work out of the box and not have to fiddle with that. The software is pretty good, especially in comparison to previous software suites by Sennheiser. It also took a little bit of troubleshooting, and I eventually discovered that it would only connect to my headset and see it in the software if the dongle was connected into USB 2.0. The headset would connect to the dongle and work, and my PC would see it, but the software would only see it if the dongle was connected via USB 2.0. And they instruct you not to use the USB ports in the back, but for most computers, the only USB 2.0 ports you have are on the back. A little bit odd, again, something that I hope they can fix in a future update. The software is basically separated into three main segments: playback, microphone, and settings. In playback, you have a 5-band equalizer, a surround sound toggle to switch between stereo and 7.1, a reverb dial to adjust the echo level when listening in surround sound, and a sound test to try out various audio settings after you've applied them. The microphone section has a voice enhancer, which will toggle between off, warm, and clear, but I will say the differences between them are essentially negligible. And there are additional mic options such as muting the microphone through the software, adjusting the gain or mic sensitivity, and adjusting the side tone, which is essentially the volume of your own voice played back in your ears. The noise gate is used to adjust the level that the microphone cuts off at. So if you have kind of a low drone of a fridge or something in your room that's constantly being captured in your microphone, you can simply adjust that noise gate to filter it out so it's only capturing you once you actually start talking. And beyond that, there is a software noise cancellation feature, which you can toggle between off, mid, and max. Having it at max will filter out a lot of background noise, but it will distort your voice by quite a bit. Finally, the settings tab will give you all the device and software info with available updates. And you can also use this to change the smart button functionality with additional future options coming. It comes preloaded with 4 profiles: flat, music, esport, and movie. And unlike previous software solutions that Sennheiser has made, these actually make a difference. And if you don't like any of those, you can even create your own. And this will apply both over the playback and microphone settings. At $350, the GSP 670 isn't cheap. For that price, you can buy an almost identical GSP 600 and have enough left over to buy a GSP 300 for a close friend. The device isn't any more comfortable or sound any better than Sennheiser's existing software. That extra $100 is strictly a wireless tax. Now, I will say that the audio clarity over wireless is the best I've personally ever experienced. Provided you're willing to pay that amount for it, this may just be the best sounding wireless headset out there. Well, thanks for watching, guys. If you appreciated this video, then go ahead and give it a thumbs up and also subscribe so you know when our newest content is ready to watch. Go ahead and watch our other videos here if you want to see other headset reviews that we've done. We've reviewed the 600, the GSP 550, the GSP 650, and now the GSP 670, completing our complete reviews of all their newest and most high-end gaming headsets. And we also do giveaways, so make sure you check the video description so you have a chance to win some free stuff. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.